The impact of Walt Disney World opening in 1971 in Central Florida had a huge impact on the surrounding area. One such unlucky theme park opening 8 years before the Magic Kingdom brought the Wild West to Florida. Located right next door to Silver Springs, it was called Six Gun Territory.
Looks as though the marshal's warning meant nothing to these outlaws. Thank heavens he won't be alone today. That handsomely dressed gentleman joining the marshal is none other than Bat Masterson, whose reputation is known throughout the territory.
Yeah, you know something, older brother? I just knew you'd be here in time.
Just in time to march you back home.
I'll get to it.
Now, wait a minute, fella. We can't go yet. Adam here ain't even had a dance. Now, where'd that old big fat gal go to?
During the early 60s, westerns were still popular, and a developer who had created at the time another western theme park wanted to create another. R.B. Coburn had found success with Ghost Town in the Sky in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, which opened in 1961. Choosing the site in Ocala, Coburn hoped to repeat the success of his mountaintop town. At the time, Silver Springs was an established attraction, offering glass-bottom boat rides and still does to this day. It was hoped its visitors would stop by the nearby new Western Town attraction, featuring gunfights, can-can dancers, and more. In similar fashion to Ghost Town in the Sky, the entrance this time featured an authentic steam railway line, which ran from the park's entrance to the park. The Southern Railway and Six Gun, a 3-foot wood-burning heritage railroad. One of the trains is still in operation today at the historic Jefferson's Railway in Texas. During park hours, the trains were stopped by frequent train robberies staged for guests while the marshals and his deputies tried to keep the peace. The trip to the park from the entrance was just around half a mile away, and this is where the first entertainment of the day began. Unlike Ghost Town in the Sky, this park had to create a 60-foot high mountain built from chicken wire to try and block the train station's view onto the flat land of the park. While the first entertainment for the park began with the train robbery, it was one of many Six Guns famous gunfights that guests would experience throughout their trip. After the good guys won the train fight, it would move on towards the actual town. Similar to how a chairlift would take you to the top of the mountain in Ghost Town in the Sky, an aerial skyride would be added a few years later after opening, which guests could take as another form of transportation to the town, or return from it on their way back. The town was authentic as possible, with the town featuring 40 real buildings, not just facades of the era. It was designed by Russell Pearson of Oklahoma. It included a town church, local jail, bank, and courthouse, among others. All of these stood ready to be explored by guests. The clock tower of the courthouse was an actual antique that was previously installed in the Marion County Courthouse. The Palace Saloon was a local hotspot for the can-can dancer shows. It was the main live venue of the park. Other performances included comedy acts and singers. The Red Dog Saloon opened during the busy season and offered music shows and old-fashioned melodramas. The park didn't feature many rides at all, so the experience was more about the live entertainment. Between the saloons and shows, gunfights breaking out around the park, and immersive theming, it still provided a great day out. Other areas inside the park were an Indian village, which went against the stereotype of Native American culture at the time and housed a museum representing 32 different tribes. Traditional Native American dances were also performed and skills such as knife and tomahawk throwing. The Mexican border town section of Six Gun Territory offered entertainment and foods from south of the border. An arcade called the Mexican Casino offered the latest video games to play. The Frontier Hotel was a real Old West hotel where celebrities would be welcome to stay the night. The town church was an active church just like Ghost Town in the Sky and was packed full every Sunday for services. The midway of the park was called the Country Fair, and it was where most of the carnival rides were located. They were mostly extra charge rides though, and not included in the entrance fee, which was actually quite low anyway. Rides included a Ferris wheel, carousel, scrambler, and a few others during the park's lifetime. The entertainment offerings were finished off with horse rides and a donkey merry-go-round. Shopping was also a big part of the park, with the Six Guns Apothecary, shirt shop, hat shop, photo shop, and a general store located within the park. The park was clearly created by the creator of Ghost Town in the Sky, and the similarities are very easy to see, minus the authentic mountain, of course. The park was a living history lesson and attracted many celebrities to the area and movies filmed in the area also.
I have made the appraisal that this is the most important day in the progress and the future development of this state. I know of no single thing in history that could have made the impact that the establishment of the Disney facility here will make.
Walt Disney himself was in Ocala just 6 months after the Six Gun opening. On the morning of November 22nd, 1963, he took off on an airplane scoping sites for his Project Future, the eventual Walt Disney World. Reportedly, it was that flight that convinced Walt to go with Central Florida. Ocala was an early consideration for the project, which saw a huge out-of-state visitors already pass through it or visit. One of the deciding factors against Ocala though was the turnpike and the interstate, which offered greater potential for development. Also, the price Disney was able to pick up the amount of land he needed may have played into this decision a little bit.
Well, Mr. Governor, this has been a wonderful reception that you've given us here. All the faces seem friendly, and we feel very much at home. And, of course, this is a big, exciting project for us, too, you know. I mean, in fact, it's the biggest thing we've ever tackled.
October 1st, 1971, Walt Disney World opened to the public. It wouldn't be long until it would be the #1 tourist destination in Florida. Visitors who came to Florida now passed over visiting the outer areas where Six Guns and others were located, and headed straight to see Mickey Mouse. The other issue for the park was that the Western films and TV shows were declining in popularity, an issue that also pushed towards the downfall of Ghost Town in the Sky. The park attendance declined, and after 20 years of operation, it became a real ghost town of Florida. On January 1st, 1984, Six Gun Territory closed its doors for good. It had closed briefly in late 1978, but it had reopened under new ownership. By 1984, though, there was no second chance for the park. Most of the assets were sold on a 3-day auction. 600 people showed up to bid on a range of items from the park. The buildings were left abandoned for 2 years. After 2 years, because of the construction quality of the buildings, bulldozers had trouble demolishing them, and the western town was sadly burnt to the ground. The old Frontier Town train depot was saved from the destruction of the park in 1986 and was in private hands ever since. The actual location of the park after its demolishment was replaced with a shopping centre still known today as Six Gun Plaza. Over 30 years after the park closed, a familiar sight rose at the back of a farm in Ocala at the Kirby family farm. Using wooden pallets, a half dozen of Six Gun alumni spent the weekend constructing 3 Western-style buildings. The Saloon housed can-can dancers again. The bank hosted Six Gun memorabilia, and visitors could meet with some of the original Six Gunners in the general store. Little Six Gun was back, along with the train robbers. Marshals and bank robbers from the original park alike came together to remember a piece of Florida history. Over 10,000 people attended the first Six Gun Wild West weekend in Williston. The event has now been running for 5 years and will return this year on September 7th through 9th, 2018 at Kirby Family Farm. The centerpiece of this farm is that iconic train depot that sat in the park over 30 years ago. Thank you so much for watching this video on Expedition Extinct. If you enjoyed it, please do subscribe to join us on another expedition. A special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel, and if you would like to get information on upcoming stops, please follow us on Twitter. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.